Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the True Life Podcast. I hope your day is going absolutely amazing. Hope the birds are singing. Hope the sun is shining. Hope the wind is at your back. I am just deep in this world of Don Quixote, and I cannot believe how much it parallels today's world. Maybe it's my life. Maybe it's where we're at on this crazy planet. Maybe it's all this the fucking crazy shit that's happening out there. I don't know. But this book is amazing. If you haven't read Don Quixote, pick it up, get buy a used copy, super cheap. You will absolutely love it. There's a moment in Don Quixote that no one talks about. It's not the windmills. It's not my good friend Sancho Panza, one of the greatest characters in all of literature. It's not the knights or the barber's basin. It's stranger than all of it. Don Quixote finds a cave, a deep, dark cave that supposedly contains ancient secrets. He has to be lowered down by a rope. They lower him into the darkness. He's down there for about an hour. When they pull him up, he's pale, shaking, disoriented. And he tells them an incredible story. He was in an enchanted place. For 3 days, he met legendary knights. He got turned into stone. He saw magical maidens. He witnessed impossible wonders. Sancho says, "Master, you were down there for an hour. Maybe less." Don Quixote looks at him, dead in the eye. And for the first time in the entire novel, he seems uncertain. "I know what I saw," he says, but his voice wavers. God knows the truth. This is the Cave of Montesinos. And it's about what happens when you can't tell if your vision is real or if you're just making it all up. Let me set this up for you guys. This happens in part 2 of Don Quixote. After he's already famous, after people have read about his adventures in part 1, he's traveling with his trusty sidekick, his squire, the great Sancho Panza, when they meet a guide who tells them about this cave, the Cave of Montesinos. It's a legendary cave, deep and dark, supposedly connected to ancient Spanish myths about enchanted knights and magical kingdoms hidden underground. Don Quixote's eyes light up. "I must descend," he says. Sancho begs him not to. "Master, this is dangerous. What if the rope breaks? What if there are monsters?" But Don Quixote insists. So they tie a rope around him, and they lower him down into the cave, down into the darkness. Now here's what you guys need to understand. Up until this point in the novel, Don Quixote's delusions have been external. He sees windmills and calls them giants. He sees a barber's basin and calls it a helmet. He sees prostitutes and calls them noble ladies. We, the readers, can see what's real and what's his delusion. But the cave is different because Don Quixote goes down there alone into the darkness. And when he comes back up, he tells a story that no one can verify and no one can disprove. Have you ever had that experience? I know that I have. Sometimes in psychedelics, sometimes throughout my life, changing events, people I love dying, careers dying. We probably all had that dark cave at some point in our life. The time where you saw something, you felt something, experienced something so clearly, so vividly, but you couldn't prove it to anyone else. And part of you started wondering, did that actually happen? Or did I make it up? That is the cave. Let me read you what Don Quixote says when they pull him up. This is part 2, chapter 23. Do yourself a favor, pick this book up and check it out. Quote, "Don Quixote asked for something to eat, for he was very hungry. They spread out Sancho's sackcloth, and seating themselves on the green grass, they ate in peace and good fellowship. And when they had finished lunch, Don Quixote said, 'Do not move from here, any of you. Listen, all of you, to what I have to tell you.' And then he began to relate what he had seen in the Cave of Montesinos, saying, 'At a depth of some 12 or 14 fathoms, on the right-hand side, there was a space wide enough to contain a large cart. And in this space, I saw a palace built of crystal and precious stones. And there I saw things I can barely describe. But I know what I saw. I was there, for 3 days. But Don Quixote, someone says, you were only down there for an hour. And Don Quixote responds, that cannot be. I ate there. I slept there. I saw the dawn break 3 times while I was there. God knows the truth. God knows the truth. Not I know the truth. God knows. Because Don Quixote himself isn't sure anymore. Okay, let me make this a little more personal. Let me tell you about my cave. My cave is the 860 conversations I've had on my podcast. I go into those conversations, into the darkness of other people's stories, their struggles, their passions, their unrealized potentials. And I come back up and I tell people, I saw something down there. I saw genius. I saw that ember burning in everyone. I saw how the system is rigged against them. I saw how credentialism is gatekeeping. I saw how passion is being crushed by extraction. And people look at me and say, are you sure? Or are you just seeing what you want to see? And that's when I start to wonder, am I Don Quixote in the cave? Did I actually see something real? Or did I descend into the darkness with my own expectations, my own biases, my own need to believe in something, and come back up with a story that sounds true, but might just be fantasy? Because here's what's terrifying about the cave. There's no way to know for sure. When you have a vision, a real, powerful vision of how things could be different, should be different, are different, if people could just see it, how do you know if that vision is a true perception of hidden reality or a beautiful delusion you've constructed because reality is unbearable? Let me give you the specifics of what I think I saw. Vision 1. Most people have unrealized genius that never gets validated because they lack credentials, connections, or maybe just luck, the doubt. Or am I just being nice? Maybe most people are actually pretty average, and I'm romanticizing them because I want to believe in human potential. Vision 2. The fight itself, demanding meaning, refusing soul death, tilting at windmills, keeps the spirit alive even when you lose. Or am I just justifying futile resistance? Maybe my friend was right. Maybe I'm confusing ambition with delusion, and I'm selling people a story that'll break them. Vision 3. There's something fundamentally corrupt about systems that extract value from people's labor and passion while denying them dignity and ownership. Or am I just angry because I'm not winning in the system? Maybe it's sour grapes dressed up as political analysis. I don't know. And that's what the cave teaches you. You can't know. Not for sure. Don Quixote was down there. He experienced something, but he can't prove it to anyone else. And eventually, even he starts wondering. Here's what makes the Cave of Montesinos different from every other adventure in Don Quixote. In every other scene, Don Quixote is certain. The windmills are giants. The basin is a helmet. Dulcinea is a noble lady. He never wavers, never doubts. That's his madness, absolute certainty in the face of contrary evidence. But in the cave, for the very first time, he's uncertain. Later in the novel, someone asks him, Don Quixote, did you really see those things in the cave? And he says, I saw what I saw, but I cannot say for certain if it was real or a dream. That's not madness. That's wisdom. The recognition that you can have a powerful, transformative experience and still not be sure if it was real. So let me ask you, what's your cave? What's the vision you descended into that you can't quite prove to anyone else? Maybe it's, I know I'm meant to do something important, even though I can't explain what or how. Maybe it's, I saw a way to fix this broken system, but no one with power will listen. Maybe it's something like, I experienced something in that relationship, job, or moment that changed me, but people say I'm overthinking it. Maybe it's, I have a calling, But maybe I'm just making it up because I'm scared of being ordinary. We all have caves, moments where we descend into the darkness and come back with a vision. And we're trying to figure out, was it real? Here's what I've learned from the 860 podcast episodes that I've done. Almost everyone has descended into a cave and come back with a vision that other people doubt. The entrepreneur who just knows their idea will work. Cave vision. The artist who has to create even if no one buys it. Cave vision. The activist who sees injustice others dismiss. Cave vision. The person who quit everything to find meaning. Cave vision. Every single act of creation, courage, or change starts with someone coming out of a cave and saying, I saw something down there. And everyone else saying, are you sure? Or did you make it up? So here's the question the Cave of Montesinos asks. If you can't prove your vision is real, should you follow it anyway? Miguel Cervantes never tells us if Don Quixote's vision was real. But here's what he does show us. Don Quixote comes out of the cave changed, more uncertain, more humble, more aware of the gap between what he experiences and what he can prove. He stops being quite so certain about everything. He starts saying, maybe, more. He starts admitting he doesn't know, and that makes him more human, not less. So here's what I think the cave teaches us. You'll never know for sure if your vision is real. The genius you see in people, maybe it's there. Maybe you're projecting. The corruption you see in systems, maybe it's real. Maybe it's confirmation bias. The fight being worth it, maybe it keeps your soul alive. Maybe it's just the ego. You will never know for sure. But here's the thing. You still have to choose. Don Quixote could have said, I'm not sure what I saw, so I'll ignore it and go back to my old life. He didn't. He kept questing, but with less certainty, with more questions, with the understanding that his vision might be partly real and partly dream, and that made him wiser. So here's where I land. I don't know if what I see in these 860 episodes is real. I don't know if the ember of genius is actually there, or if I'm romanticizing ordinary people because I need to believe in something. I don't know if demanding meaning in a meaningless world is noble resistance or dangerous delusion. I don't know if I'm Don Quixote seeing enchanted palaces or just making it all up in the darkness. But I know this, the vision matters, not because it's definitely real, but because choosing to act on it, even with doubt, is what makes us human. The cave teaches you this. Certainty is madness. Doubt is wisdom. And acting despite the doubt, that's courage. Don Quixote descended into the cave, certain he'd find wonders. He came back up, uncertain. But he kept going. Not because he knew he was right, but because the vision, real or imagined, was the only thing worth following. There's a line at the end of the Cave of Montesinos chapter that destroys me every single time. After Don Quixote tells his whole story, the enchanted palace, the 3 days, the wonders, someone asks him, Don Quixote, do you really believe all that happened? And he says, time will tell. Not yes, I'm certain. Not no, I made it up. Time will tell. That's the answer. You descend into your cave. You descend into your 860 podcast episodes, your calling, your vision of a better world, your unreasonable hope. You come back up with a story that might be real or it might be fantasy. You can't prove it. You can't even be sure yourself. But you act on it anyway. And time will tell if you saw truth or if you were just in the dark dreaming. God knows the truth, Don Quixote said. Maybe that's all any of us can say about our visions. I saw something. I can't prove it, but I'm going to follow it anyway, and time will tell. George Monty, True Life Podcast. Thanks for hanging out with me today.